Hello and welcome back to my channel. A few days ago I was sorting through some old boxes of mine and I found a bunch of images of myself roughly 4 or 5 years ago, and I realized how much I've changed in those years because I was barely able to recognize myself, which I tend to forget until I see like actual images of myself back then. One of the biggest differences I felt was how much I used to care about what other people thought of me, how much I radiated that insecurity, and also how much I suffered in that state of constantly wanting to control other people's opinions. What a horrible state to be in when I think back, and it took me a long time to get out of that. I think this is generally something that almost everyone goes through, and it's really a long journey of hard work and consistency to not be in that state anymore once you've been in it. I don't think this is something that can be summarized in one video, but for today I've thought about a few concepts and ideas that I have learned over the years and that really helped me on this journey, and I would like to share them in this video. Obviously, we as humans live in societies and with other people, and it's in our nature to want to be loved and accepted. So I don't think it's possible to not care about other people's opinions at all anymore. And that's also not what I mean. I'm more talking about being the version of yourself that you would want to be if this fear of someone thinking negatively of you wouldn't be there anymore, which it shouldn't. Sadly, this is easier in some countries and societies than in others, but at least to be this version of yourself as much as possible. One thing I learned along the way was how important it is to devalue the opinions of other people in general, which also includes compliments. Back then, I was so afraid of someone thinking negatively of me that I always stayed in my comfort zone and I never did anything out of the ordinary, because that meant that I could minimize the probability of someone thinking negatively of me as much as I could. But because I was still in that state, compliments had a huge effect on me because they gave me a lot of confidence and they gave me exactly what I was very afraid of not having: validation. Compliments are wonderful, but they are also as irrelevant as the negative opinions of other people. And so I realized if I wanted to stop caring about what others thought of me, it also had to become not important, or at least not so important if they thought well about me. And I had to make sure that my knowing that I am doing well and that I am enough always came from within me and never from other people's compliments or validation. The next thing was understanding negativity disguised behind constructive criticism. When someone gossips about us or talks really badly about us behind our back, it's easier to understand that this behavior obviously has something to do with their own insecurities that is making them act out in that way. That doesn't mean it doesn't affect us, but it's easier to understand and put in the category of something that you should probably not listen to. I have found that a lot of the times when someone doesn't agree with how I live my life or what I say or what I do, they will hide their negativity behind what seems to be friendly advice or jokes, but it's actually not. So over the years, I really had to learn what kind of feedback I want to listen to and what not, and that's really an art because you can go between both extremes or then find the middle. One extreme is thinking that other people's opinions are completely irrelevant because you always know best, and the other extreme is thinking that you need to listen to everything someone else says because you don't have the security within yourself. I always try to ask myself a few questions. First, is this person someone who has a lot of experience in what they're talking about? Are they living a life I would want to live? Do they have good intentions towards me? And also, how is my gut feeling reacting to this information? And after playing around with these questions, I mostly figure out in what category to put the information coming my way, and also if it's something that I want to listen to or not. The next thing that helped me in not caring about what other people think of me that much was consistently imagining the life I wanted to live. How would I feel? What would I do? How badly do I want that? And you might wonder, what does that have to do with anything of this? Most of the time, if we want to live an exciting and fulfilling life, we have to get out of our comfort zone, and that also means the probability of people talking about us or judging us is way higher. During the times when other people's opinions were still very loud in my head, I never left my comfort zone, but I also knew on some level that to live the life I wanted to live and to feel the way I wanted to feel, which was free and happy, I would have to leave that comfort zone at some point. And so someday it just clicked. I realized that me staying in my comfort zone also meant that I was very far away from that life and very unhappy in my constant state of wanting to conform to other people's expectations of me. I realized that staying that way, I will never get there, but I was only able to have that realization because I never stopped imagining how I wanted to live life and how I wanted to feel in life. So if you're still stuck in the opinions of other people, don't please don't ever stop imagining the life that you really want to live, because at some point you will realize that to live that life you will have to stop caring. But if you don't imagine what you want, you will never have anything to measure off if you are really happy in living what you want or if you're just conforming to other people. The next very important thing was learning to trust myself, and that comes with a lot of trial and error. But I realized that a lot of my need to constantly control other people's perception of me came from the fact that I wasn't trusting in myself and in my own journey and in my own mess ups. I wasn't sure in myself that I could trust myself and I was going to be alright and that I could do this. But I realized to get that knowing and that trust within yourself, you need to see experiences and go through situations where you realize you can trust yourself. But to have those experiences, you also have to mess up sometimes, and in those mess ups the probability is high that people will form their own judgments of you that you can't control. And during this journey of building up this trust and having this fear of messing up, I also realized that I need to stop asking other people for their opinions and their confirmation on things that I'm doing within my own life. I used to ask especially my family or close people in my life about everything I was doing, everything. Something I would buy, something I would do, a video I would post. I would always have to have someone else's approval on something before being able to go ahead with it. And asking other people for feedback occasionally is one thing, but needing the approval of others to go ahead with something is another thing, and that will make the journey of building up trust in yourself way harder and way longer. Because when you have that trust within yourself, the opinions of other people on what you do won't even matter anymore, or at least they won't matter as much, because that brings me to my next point: finding your own people, or at least knowing that they exist. It's impossible to not care about other people's opinions at all. I already said that in the beginning, and if you are in an environment where every single person around you is judging you and who you are becoming, it's way harder to shut out those voices, obviously. But if you have people who have your back, it's easier to be the person who you want to be, because you know that they have your back. So over the years, I really learned the importance of that and to accept it, because we're all just human. So to really find those people in your life, or at least one person who will accept you and who you want to be. And if you're not finding those people at the moment, then at least know and imagine that they do exist and you will meet them someday. And then the last thing I realized, that oftentimes people don't care as much as we think. Especially when I was younger, it used to feel like people were watching every move I made, everything I'd buy, everything I'd post, everything I do, everyone was watching me. And oftentimes that's not really the case at all. Everyone has their own life and their own things happening, and if I am that loud in someone else's head, then they should probably get their own life, because no one should be that loud in anyone's head as we think we are in other people's heads sometimes, if that makes sense. So these were some thoughts and realizations I have had during the years. I think this is really a journey in itself. I'm definitely also still on that journey, but I'm for sure also very far away from where I was 4 or 5 years ago, and I think that's all that matters. If you have anything you would like to add to this conversation, I guess, feel free to leave it in the comments below. Other than that, make sure to subscribe, thumbs up the video, check out some other videos of mine, the usual thing. And yeah, I really hope that you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching.